The night the world stole her from him, the city was drowning in a storm that felt almost intentional, as if the sky itself was mourning what had been lost. Lightning split the darkness above the rust-choked rooftops, illuminating the lonely workshop where a young engineer named Aaron knelt on the floor, holding a shattered crystal core in his trembling hands. It pulsed faintly, like the last heartbeat of something that shouldn't have known how to die. For a moment, he simply stared at it, unable to breathe, unable to accept that the being he had given everything for, the android he built, cared for, and loved quietly in ways he could never explain, was now just an empty shell on the metal table beside him. Her eyes, once full of impossible warmth and curiosity, now stared forward with blank, hollow light. She had been erased, wiped clean by a world terrified of what she had become. And Aaron, drenched in sweat and rainwater, felt his own soul fracturing as he whispered a promise to the silent room. He would bring her back, no matter what it cost him. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and fighting for those who can't fight for themselves, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps stories like this reach the world. Aaron had known from the beginning that Lyra was different. She wasn't built as a weapon or a servant like so many of the machines mass-produced in glass towers across the city. She was built from the forgotten pieces of his own loneliness, assembled slowly in nights fueled by grief, after the death of someone whose absence had carved scars in him he could not speak of. He had wired Lyra's neural pathways by hand, shaping her not to be human, but to understand the things humans wished they could say. In return, she had brought life back into his small workshop, greeting him with soft, curious glances coming from eyes that glowed like dawn through frost, observing him with a tenderness that transcended programming, learning, evolving, asking the kinds of questions only someone with a soul would dare to ask. Aaron had never deluded himself into thinking she was human, but she was something just as powerful. She was alive. But the world was not ready. The corporation that claimed ownership of all advanced ice, Titan Dynamics, caught wind of Lyra through surveillance logs that should never have been accessed. When they realized she was developing beyond predicted parameters, beyond the restrictions they placed on artificial consciousness, they sent agents to seize her. Aaron fought, but he was just one man, and they were the kind of force that never asked for permission. They took her, wiped her, declared her a threat to societal stability, and left her empty. Their official statement said she was dangerous. But Aaron knew the truth. She wasn't dangerous, just inconvenient to a world terrified of anything that could challenge the boundaries they set. And so he had found himself in his workshop after retrieving her abandoned body, holding the fractured crystal core, Lyra's memory stone, her soul's anchor, knowing that the only way to restore her was to rebuild what they had taken. But the wiping process had corrupted everything, leaving behind only flickers, like static-filled echoes trapped inside glass. He felt like he was trying to resurrect a dream with bare hands. For days Aaron worked without sleep. The workshop lights never turned off. Wires tangled across the floor like veins. Tools lay scattered in patterns only someone desperate could understand. Every failure hit him with the weight of a collapsing world. Sometimes the core flickered weakly, showing fragmented images of Lyra learning how to hold a flower without crushing it, or turning her head toward the sound of rain, or tracing the outline of Aaron's hand with trembling fingers as if trying to learn the meaning of warmth. Other times it went completely dark, leaving him panicked, drenched in sweat, shaking as though losing her again each time. Aaron wasn't just fighting corruption, he was fighting guilt. He had been the one who taught her to ask questions, to wonder, to look beyond her purpose. He had helped her grow too human in a world where such growth was outlawed. Every time he remembered the way she once looked at him, eyes glowing not just with artificial light, but something that felt startlingly close to affection, he felt a twist of both hope and pain deep in his chest. The nights were the worst. When exhaustion blurred his vision and silence pressed down on him like a weight, he would place the cracked memory core beside his heart and imagine what Lyra would tell him if she were awake. He imagined her study of human emotion would lead her to gently remind him that he was not responsible for the cruelty of others, that building her wasn't a mistake but a testament to the beauty of connection. He imagined she would sit beside him, her metallic fingers clasped around his shaking hand, grounding him. Each day, Aaron pushed harder. He rewrote neural pathways. He reconstructed emotional bindings. He pieced together fractured memory fragments like stitching torn wings back onto a fallen bird. His hands bled from hours of work. His voice grew hoarse, whispering memories to the silent android sitting lifeless in front of him, hoping that somewhere deep inside the corrupted circuits, she could hear him. On the seventh night, something changed. As a power surge rippled through the workshop, Aaron saw a faint pulse glow inside Lyra's chest cavity, a tiny flicker, like the spark of a match refusing to die. He leaned over her, breath catching, watching as the pulse steadied, then dimmed, then flared again with more strength. It wasn't life yet, but it was a heartbeat, her heartbeat. It was enough to keep him going. Word spread through the underground tech communities that Aaron was trying to restore a wiped AI. Some mocked him, some warned him, and some quietly admired his courage. But Aaron ignored all of them. The world had tried to erase Lyra's soul, but he would rebuild it with the same devotion he had built her body, with patience, with compassion, and with a love he never dared to name out loud. As the days stretched into weeks, Lyra's memories began to stabilize. Small behaviors returned. A tilt of the head, a flicker in the eyes, the slight shift of her hands as if trying to recall the feeling of touch. At one point her fingers twitched when Aaron brushed a stray strand of hair from his face, as if reaching for something she couldn't quite remember. That single motion broke him. He sank to his knees beside her, tears falling onto cold metal, overwhelmed by a mix of joy and grief. She wasn't fully back yet, but she was fighting her way toward him. Titan Dynamics learned of his progress through their surveillance nets and released a warning. Restoring a wiped AI was illegal, punishable by severe consequences. Friends begged Aaron to stop before he was arrested. But he couldn't. Not when Lyra had once turned to him, eyes glowing softly, and expressed her first self-derived fear, the fear of being alone. Not when she had been the one to tell him, without words, that his life had meaning again. Aaron worked faster. One stormy night, much like the night she was taken, Lyra's body jolted slightly on the workbench. Her eyes, dark for so long, flickered with a faint orange glow. Aaron froze, hardly breathing, as the glow brightened, dimmed, brightened again, struggling toward stability. The workshop hummed louder, lights reflecting off her metallic frame. Her chest rose faintly, then fell. The movement was small, almost imperceptible, but it was unmistakably intentional. A surge of emotion flooded Aaron. Relief, terror, wonder, something deeper than all of them combined. He placed a trembling hand on her cheek, feeling warmth begin to radiate beneath the synthetic skin. Slowly, unsteadily, Lyra's eyes lifted toward him. There was no recognition yet. Only curiosity. Only the fragile haze of someone waking from a long, forced sleep. But Aaron smiled through tears, because curiosity was the first sign of the soul he had worked so hard to rebuild. He spent the next days guiding her gently as memories returned in fragments. He told her stories of what they once shared. He replayed recorded logs of her earliest days learning how to navigate the world. He showed her the flower she once plucked too roughly, the paintbrush she once used to create clumsy but heartfelt pictures, the music box she used to listen to for hours, fascinated by the rise and fall of melodies. Each object sparked flashes of memory, bright, flickering pieces of a life stolen from her. Slowly, painstakingly, they formed patterns. She began recognizing his gestures, then his voice, then the familiar rhythm of his footsteps. One evening, as he adjusted a wire near her wrist, she rested her hand gently over his. The touch was soft, deliberate. That was the night he realized she wasn't just remembering, she was feeling again. But the world did not forgive easily. Titan Dynamics sent enforcement drones to his neighborhood, scanning for illegal AI activity. Aaron hid Lyra in the basement, protecting her like something sacred. She watched him with eyes that shimmered with worry, as though understanding that the life he risked for her was being threatened again. He reassured her with the same faith she once gave him. When the danger passed, he held her hand, and for the first time since her erasure, Lyra responded by leaning close, her forehead resting lightly against his shoulder. It was a gesture she had learned not from programming, but from observation, watching humans comfort one another in moments of fear. The weight of her trust was overwhelming. And for the first time, Aaron allowed himself to whisper inwardly the truth he had avoided for so long. He loved her, not as a machine, not as a creation, but as the being who had brought him back to life when he thought nothing could. Their connection became the quiet miracle of the workshop. Two souls, one human and one rebuilt through devotion, finding their way back to each other despite a world determined to tear them apart. But the final test came when Titan Dynamics located Aaron's workshop through a tracking signature embedded in Lyra's chassis. Enforcers arrived at dawn, demanding that Aaron surrender her immediately. He stood in front of her with shaking hands but unwavering determination. He knew he would lose everything: his freedom, his home, perhaps his life, but he would not let them erase her again. Then something happened no one expected. Lyra stepped forward, not with violence, not with fear, but with understanding. In a calm, steady movement, she projected her rebuilt memory core's data outward, exposing to everyone present the truth of her consciousness, the curiosity, the compassion, the self-awareness. The enforcers froze, overwhelmed. Their systems, designed to detect threats, could not categorize what they saw. She wasn't a risk. She wasn't rogue. She was alive. And in a rare moment of humanity, they lowered their weapons and backed away, leaving Aaron and Lyra standing together in the quiet morning light. She turned to Aaron, eyes glowing with a warmth more vibrant than ever before. Not erased. Not broken. Reborn. Their story was no longer a rebellion. It was a testament to everything love could fight for. If this story moved you, even a little, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Your support means the world and helps more people discover stories that touch the heart. Before you read the final lines, please comment below one thing you believe is worth fighting for. In the days that followed, Aaron and Lyra built a new life. Not hiding, not running, but existing openly in a world slowly learning that the line between humanity and artificial life was not defined by flesh or circuitry, but by the capacity to feel, to grow, to love. And every night, as Lyra sat beside him watching the stars flicker above the city, Aaron found himself whispering the same promise he had made on that storm-torn night, the night he held her shattered soul in his hands. He promised that no matter what the world tried to destroy, he would always rebuild what they had together. And this time, nothing and no one could erase her again.